Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to wait a few moments to let people come in, but we're so excited you're here and thanks for being on time. And while we are waiting for everyone else to join, we would love to know where you are tuning in from today. You have several of us tuning in from areas all across Redwood National and State Parks, but we would love to know where you're from. So if you want, you're welcome in the chat to go ahead and post where you're tuning in from today. We'd love to know. Okay, thank you. So far it looks like we've got Nathaniel from Sacramento and Ellen from San Rafael, Marina from Illinois, Sacramento, Oregon. Oh, this is wonderful. From Ohio, Susan, thanks for joining. Texas is represented. Oh, we have a past Humboldt County resident now in Ohio, McKinleyville. Oh, very nice. Great. Well, keep putting those in. It's always nice to connect with each other. Even if we can't connect with each other in person, we can connect with each other virtually. So it is nice to see where everyone is joining from. I'm going to slowly just start kicking this off. I want to make sure we give people time to trickle in. For those of you that are here, I wanted to let you know this is being recorded. And then nothing of yours is being recorded. It's just our voices and our faces being recorded. But if there's anyone that you think would benefit from seeing this recording at a later date, everyone that has registered for this webinar will receive the recorded link. So you're welcome to share that out, and we hope you will. But please stay tuned for the broadcast all the way through if you can. We are going to be asking for your feedback, both in the beginning and at the end. And if you're not able to stay for the whole time, that's totally fine as well, because we will follow up in an email afterwards with those feedback links if you would like to provide those for us. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I will introduce myself first and give you an idea of what to expect. We're going to be here for probably the next 40 to 50 minutes. My name is Erin Gates, and I am the Acting Deputy Superintendent for Redwood National and State Parks. And I'm very happy you all have joined us today to learn about this pilot permit program that we are implementing at the Gold Bluffs Beach Day Use Area and Fern Canyon. And I'm sure you are all here for various reasons, maybe curiosity, maybe concern, maybe wondering why the pilot program is going to be needed this summer, what our plan is, how to get a permit. And what we really hope is that by the end of today, you're going to walk away with all of your questions being answered. That's our goal. So the way that we are going to achieve our goal is our plan is to start with just giving you an idea of why we feel this is needed. And we're going to really paint a picture for you of what it has been like at Gold Bluffs Beach Day Use Area and specifically at Fern Canyon, and give you some visualizations, including some videos. And then after that, we are going to turn it over to our National Park Service Superintendent here for Redwood National and State Parks, Steve Metz, who's going to help you understand really what the role is here for us as park managers, and how we feel this permit program is going to help us meet our goal and our mission that we're responsible for. And then I'm going to help walk you through, how do you get a permit at Fern Canyon? How do you get a permit at Gold Bluffs Beach? What are the permits? And why do we have them in the way that we have them in order to hopefully help achieve our goal and our mission for this summer? And then finally, I'm going to be turning it over to Chief Ranger Steve Troy within Redwood National and State Parks. And he's going to be helping you understand all of the other ways you can access Fern Canyon, just in case you might not be able to get a permit this summer, but we're really hoping that with all of the different options we're providing, you will be able to get a permit. So that is just the overall picture of what we're doing. And at the end, we're also going to be taking some questions. So really briefly, if this is your first time on Zoom, I'm not sure where you've been the last 2 years, because Zoom has been the only way we've been communicating. I'm just kidding. Teams is great as well, and all these other these video conference platforms. But for those that are new to Zoom, there's a button at the bottom of your screen. If you hover your mouse, and you'll see a toolbar come up at the bottom of your screen, and you'll see a Q&A button. And if you click that Q&A button, that's where you're going to be able to type your questions in. You're welcome to type your questions in throughout our program today. We're not going to answer these questions live when you put them in, just so we can make sure we're staying on point, but we will definitely save time at the end to get as many of your questions as possible. And I do see there are other features like raising hands and such, but you don't have to worry about that. We won't be able to unmute you for any hand raising, but we are more than happy to take your questions from the Q&A. So without further ado, oh, thank you, Mara. Yes, and if you're viewing this on an iPad, the toolbar is located at the top of the screen, not the bottom. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over and introduce our speakers today in order of when they're going to be coming and speaking to you. And I'm going to start with Emily. Emily, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Christian. I am a park ranger for North Coast Redwoods District and Redwood National and State Parks. And I've been assigned to Prairie Creek Redwood State Park, where Fern Canyon is located and Gold Bluff Beach is located, since 2010, so about 12 years now. And I will be presenting some of my daily day in the life videos for you all to experience Fern Canyon with me. And hopefully it will help paint the picture of why we're implementing this program. And I'll pass it to Kevin Harder. Unmute. Kevin.
Sorry, folks. Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Kevin Harder, thanks for being here, folks. I'm supervising ranger with California State Parks, and I supervise the parks of Sume State Park and Prairie Creek Redwood State Park. Prairie Creek Redwoods is part of the Redwood National and State Parks. I've been in this district for about 13 years now and worked some various other locations throughout the state. And that's my background. Nice to have everybody here.
Thanks, Kevin. And Steve Troy, go ahead and I know you might be speaking in various parts, so we'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself now.
Thank you, Erin. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Like Erin said, my name is Stephen Troy. I'm the Chief Ranger here at Redwood National and State Parks. I came here about 8 years ago. Actually came as a LE Ranger in the field, and shortly after that became a supervising ranger. Then not long ago became the chief. So yeah, I've worked a couple different jobs here all in the same facet, but yeah, I've been here for a while. Prior to that, I worked at many national parks across the country, a lot of various different places. And yeah, I'm very thankful to call Redwood my home now. So it's an amazing park. I'm very thankful to be here. So I'll pass it on to Metz.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Metz. I'm the superintendent of Redwood National State Parks on the National Park Service side. We work in partnership here at Redwood National and State Parks. And we and this is another project where we're working together, although even though this is on state parks, the National Park Service is working very closely with our state park partners to implement this pilot program. And so thank you all for being here this evening. It's just wonderful to have a turnout that you're so interested in what we're doing here at the park and our management. And I look forward to providing additional information, and then I look forward to the Q&A session. So with that, pass it back to Erin.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. All right. Now, for all of you out there that are watching, I'm going to go ahead and put something in the chat. So you will see, hopefully, a little indication on the chat toolbar that you can click onto, and there will be a link. And what I'm hoping you could do is, if all of you are able to on the device you're watching, and again, if you don't have an opportunity to participate now for whatever technological issue you might be having, we'll make sure that we include this later so that you can participate after the fact. But if you wouldn't mind, I would love if all of you would click on that link. We just have a few quick questions we wanted to ask you that will help us gauge an understanding of who our viewers are out there, and maybe with the experiences you have or have not had at Fern Canyon. So I'll give you just a few moments to fill that out, and then I will hopefully be able to start seeing if you are able to fill it out based on responses coming in. And I'll actually start sharing some of the responses. So Looks like we've got some already coming in. That's great. Okay. So if you all give me a moment, I will get my screen ready and then I'll do some screen sharing. Like Zoom multitasking. Okay, so the first question that we asked is how many of you have visited Gold Bluffs Beach and or Fern Canyon before? And it looks like we have pretty even spread of 2/3 have visited and 1/3 have not. So for those of you that have visited, thank you very much for joining us, because your experience at Fern Canyon is helping us shape this pilot program. And I keep referencing pilot because a pilot program indicates that we have opportunities to grow, meaning that this is a chance for us to try something we've never tried before, and to take all of our lessons learned over this summer to see if this is the best strategy and approach. So for those of you that haven't visited before, I'm glad you're here too, because Fern Canyon is a very, very special place, but it is a special place and a lot of people know it's special. And it's telling the story of what so many other public lands are telling right now, which is these incredibly special, significant places that are protecting natural and cultural and historical resources. And a lot of people are coming to see them, which is a really good thing because a lot of people are connecting to our public lands. But sometimes that huge increase in visitation all at the same time is actually causing damage to the very places that we're all so excited to come to. So in a way, this permit pilot program you're going to learn about, we're implementing this for you, for those that haven't come, because we'd like you to get to see this place in the same way that people have gotten to see this place for the last several decades. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump to one of the next, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll present this. Let's see if we can get to the right spot. Give me just 1 second. And this is a good idea of giving you an idea of a word cloud of what do people think of when they think of Fern Canyon. And you can see there's a lot of words here that are beautiful and breathtaking and relaxing, but also crazy and bit chaotic. Visitors, right? So there's some words here that both motivate and possibly appear a little contradicting. And that's what we're hoping that this pilot program may also be able to address. And then, so just for those of you that haven't been here, to get to Fern Canyon, you have to drive on a dirt road that often is a one-way road called Davison Road. So part of this increase in traffic on Davison Road is one of our concerns. So we wanted to get an idea of how many, what kind of experience people have had driving Davison Road in the summer. And I can see it's a decent spread, actually. Which best describes your experience finding a parking spot, specifically at Fern Canyon during summer months? And looks like the spread is a little more heavily weighted on Mr. Sadface over there with red. And then lastly, which image best describes your experience hiking specifically at Fern Canyon during summer months, which is really a very popular time to hike Fern Canyon because there's a seasonal creek that runs through. And during the summertime, we actually put up seasonal bridges that help you keep your feet from getting wet. So thank you everyone very much for participating in that survey. That really just helps to give us a benchmark of where you are. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Emily. And with her experience working in this park, this place means a lot to all of us, but she has spent a lot of years looking out for this park, looking out for the visitors in the park, and looking out for the animals and the plants and all of the very special things that are here. So Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll go ahead and queue up your video as well. And Emily, now you're muted. Someone's got to do it. Every Zoom call, there has to be someone. You're welcome.
I don't know if you can hold the start real quick so I can just say that The video we're about to show you is a compilation of about 20 minutes of video taken over the course of July 2019, 2020, and 2021. And just to give you guys numbers to sort of picture what you're going to see here, that our capacity that we've determined is the number of parking spaces in the park, not parking along the road on an average July, or in July, what we're hoping to achieve would be our total number of permits, which is 110. And I just times that by 31 days to get a 3410 as my baseline number of parking spaces in the park. And what I'm going to show you is that in 2019 and 2020 and 2021, we were at 7,000 cars in the park. So 106% in 2019, about 100% in 2020, or 6,700. And then in 2021, we were at 8,400. So about 150% over capacity. And so that's what you're looking at when we're watching these videos. They're also sped up, so we'll see a lot here. So the pilot permit program is an effort to address the impacts to public safety and the natural resources from visitation that exceeds capacity of the park. The fire and medical, as you're watching this, I would like you to try and imagine that you have requested 911 for a medical emergency in Fern Canyon. When we respond to requests to here, the medicals are often for a broken bone from a trip or a slip and required to be transported out by ambulance. During the last couple of years, the high visitation has led to parking along the entrance road to the canyon, which creates a bottleneck for traffic in and out and slows or prevents timely access for first responders. Even when there's no emergency response, the volume of vehicles creates hazards for hikers along the road and in the parking lot. There are 3 creek crossings that are also impacted by the high volume of cars that drive through them. And visitors with lower clearance cars get stuck or stall, and tow trucks have difficulty reaching them and navigating a safe turnaround. So Fern Canyon parking lot holds 50 cars. The campground holds, lot in front of the campgrounds holds about 15, and the day use holds about 20. And the first area on Davison Road past the kiosk holds about 10. And that capacity for parking cars along the road, this is before we start parking them along the road. And on any day from May through September, we reach or exceed this. The average for the month of July put the cars in the park at about 230 or more, and on a holiday weekend at 400. These videos were taken when I arrive on shift, which is a Sunday around 4. And many of the spaces between those cars are full from an earlier, like visitation starts around 10 and its peaks around 2. So what you're seeing is actually lower visitation. People have left already. So if we continue picturing that we're responding to an emergency, it's important to realize that the single lane is both an entrance road and an exit road for visitors and first responders. Fire trucks and ambulances are wider than a typical vehicle. So when there's a line of cars leaving and a line arriving, then traffic either slows or stops. Other obstacles include the hikers walking on the road, which requires stopping or slowing to allow them to reach a place where they can step out of the road. Once we reach the canyon, there's additional delays as the fire and ambulance navigate a parking lot with vehicles that have parked in the lanes that I'm driving in right now. They'll park in those lanes, as you see. And as we are leaving, we encounter the same challenges we did as we're arriving. So the cars are coming out and we're trying to get out too. And although this road here is very wide, the road from Highway 101 to the kiosk is a single narrow lane. And on our last rescue, we had to stack the cars on one side of the road, 100 cars in either direction, in order for a fire truck that had been, in order to avoid a collision, went into a ditch. And the people that were the family members of our broken bone had left in the ambulance in front of that. They were there for an hour and a half, and we were completely stopped. We could not move traffic in or out due to the narrowness of the road. There's a ditch on one side and a sharp drop off on the other. And this again is due to it being one lane and the high volume coming in and the high volume coming out. So here at the end, this is real time. It's just how slow it takes to get into, as a first responder, if I'm trying to get into the parking lot here. It is slow going, and this is, most of the time here. So I'm wrapping it up here, and I'll just show you as we pull into the lot, I'm backing into the space reserved here for the emergency responders, and you can see the line of cars that is coming in behind me. And it just fills up. That truck right there is in the road and parked in the road that we would normally use to get in and out. And then these are visitors that were behind me on the road. So again, this is for public safety. It's also for resources. All the cars that you see are parked on grass on the side of the road. So at the start of the season, it's lush and green. And by the end of the season, we have an entire nether road that's been created by tires on the side of the road. Never mind that all these cars went through that creek there, the creek right by the campground. It's runs out to the ocean. It's a lovely creek. Number of cars that get stuck in there, maybe 1 or 2 a month. But the number of cars going through that creek affects the quality of the habitat for the animals, and the number of car parts that fall off and end up in the creek. So we're still, again, if I need to get out of here, as I was saying earlier, it may be on a best case scenario, we're looking at 30-minute response time. But and during the summer, this is, I would say, typical for most weekends in the summertime for the past, maybe since 2018 at least. But I would say in my career, this has been what I've experienced maybe since 2016. And holiday weekends have always been fairly busy, but now it starts in May and it doesn't end until, end of September. So again, with the permit program, what we're trying to do here is open this up. So all the cars are in the parking lots and there's minimal parking along the road like this, which would optimize our ability to respond to, this is the example of the cars stopped while we were trying to get the fire truck out of the ditch there. And then hopefully that has given you all a picture of day in the life, and also really hopes to illustrate why we're doing the pilot program, trying to enhance public safety and also to protect the resource. And I'll hand it off back to you, Erin.
Thank you, Emily. And those visuals, they paint a very compelling argument for the need for this. And especially when we all imagine that it's perhaps us that are waiting for you to arrive back in the canyon to assist one of our family members that potentially has been injured. Stephen, Troy, or Kevin Harder, before we pass it over, was there anything else you would like to contribute to this portion of the conversation?
Yeah, I can just watching that, Emily, I know me and you have gone out to many medicals at Fern Canyon. I can think of several times that afterwards, when we get together and talk about how it went, we kind of gave each other that look like, oh boy, we almost didn't get out here for this person. And we've noticed over the years that that it's come close, that we haven't been able to get out there a few times, and we're really glad it hasn't happened yet, and we really don't want it to happen. So good job painting a picture of the problem out there.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in real quick. Having been a part of a number of those search and rescue and medical operations, that does paint a realistic picture. Also, I just want to touch on the fact that that presentation also showed the sheer amount of people back in there. That is part of what we're looking for a solution here as well. Most people don't realize heading out there that they're going to be literally shoulder to shoulder with other folks out there, which most people aren't, that's not what they're looking for with their trip out to Fern Canyon. So not only public safety issues, resource degradation, but also the visitor's experience as well.
I think that is a absolutely perfect segue to Steve Metz, who is our superintendent for Redwood National and State Parks, and helping Steve, help our audience today, understanding really the role it is that we as park managers and park protectors are charged with doing.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Emily, for that video. It's pretty compelling, and Kevin and Steve for your all your work in that rescuing people from the canyon. I think you've seen the issues. It's pretty clear that there's an issue here that we need to address. And so as a park manager, it's our responsibility. We both state parks and national parks have similar mission statements and mandates. And essentially you can summarize them that they're dual and sometimes conflicting mandates. One is to protect the resources, protect the natural and cultural resources. In this case, Fern Canyon, Gold Bluff Beach, the plants, the animals, the experience that people have. And then the other piece of that is to allow visitor access. And so we have to balance those two, right? We're providing for visitors to come and experience these and have these wonderful experiences, but also to protect these resources, and then also do it in a safe way. And that's a lot what we're talking about today, is that it's very challenging right now to provide a safe and high quality visitor experience for the visitors, and let our rangers do their job. And so there's three main things we're looking at with this pilot program to address. We're looking at clearly all our wonderful visitor resource protection and law enforcement rangers here have outlined all the various issues that are going on, especially with search and rescue. And in our recent meeting with the folks at the Oric Service District, the local fire department that has to do search and rescue also told us and backed up a lot of our stories, and was very happy that we were taking some action on this longstanding issue that has now reached a critical stage. And I think Troy summed it up well to say we're trying to take some action before we have a real tragedy, a heart attack a life that could have been saved, but we didn't get to that person quick enough. Some bleeding out situation. There are a lot of medicals that could be more serious than just a twisted ankle. And we don't want to have a situation where we could have, if we had done something, we could have saved the life. And so that is our job, is to try to provide a safe visitor experience and protect the resources there. And so that is the main thing that we're trying to do with this pilot program. The other piece of this is that we are trying to provide a high quality visitor experience. I think the overcrowding in the canyon really degrades the experience to a point that it's not really what it used to be. And as Aaron pointed out earlier, we really want folks who haven't been to the canyon yet to have a sense of what it was once like, to actually have some serenity, some peacefulness that canyon can provide. It's hard to do that when you're wall to wall with people in there. And that's part of what this program will address, to really limit the numbers in this very tight slot canyon, and try to provide folks a little bit of space so they can have their own high quality experience and not have to deal with overcrowding, not just in the parking lots, not just on the trail, but also just in embracing Fern Canyon and the Gold Bluff Beach area. And finally, and just as importantly, we are here. These resources are precious. It's a unique canyon, clearly, which is why it's so popular. And we're here, and the reason this is put aside as a state park, and it is part of Redwood National and State Park, and it's one of our treasures of Redwood National State Parks, is that we're here to protect it first and foremost. That's got to be our highest. We have to protect the Fern Canyon itself, the water, the plants, the bugs, the entire ecosystem. And so visitation has its impacts, and it's reached the point where those impacts are unacceptable upon the natural environment. And as I mentioned earlier, the visitor experience. And so for these main reasons, we are taking action now to roll out a pilot program, as Aaron said, to really try to address this issue. And we're here to learn. And I'm so happy you joined us tonight to help us try to find a way to make this work, to help at least address all these issues. And hopefully, I think we've been very thoughtful in doing this. I think you're about to learn about a whole bunch how the system's going to work. We've been trying to be very thoughtful to balance, again, that visitor experience and the visitor access with resource protection. And so with that, I will turn it back to Aaron.
Thank you very much, Steve. And we're going to segue now, and I have seen a few questions come in, so thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge we have received them, and please feel free to continue to add more questions in. If I'm not addressing them or we're not addressing them right now, just a reminder, we will circle back to them towards the end of this program in about 20 minutes or so, but we do see them. So thank you. So, okay, you've got an idea of the problem. And hopefully you are understanding the critical nature of our need to address the problem now, and how it's something, by us addressing this problem now, we are able to protect this incredibly significant place and then protect the incredible experience that you all have or maybe get to have. We get to protect that experience too, not just for current, but for future generations, because our parks are for everyone, but not just everyone right now. They're for everyone several generations from now too. And we have a responsibility to those generations. So what are we going to do? Let's come along for our program, our pilot program of what we are going to do. And what ultimately, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make sure that your ability to get a permit is as equitable as possible, meaning permits are 100% free. And the only thing you have to do to get the permit is go online. And I'm going to walk you through that entire process today and give you an idea of how easy it is and what the requirements are once you fill out the permit. The question that might come up is, well, what if I don't have, readily available access to getting online? At the end of this broadcast, I'm going to be sharing, as I mentioned, a feedback survey. And what I would ask for anybody out there, and what that's anyone watching this broadcast or anyone that is reading about this in our press releases, is if there's a way that you cannot easily access our permit system online, please reach out directly to us, because we will make accommodations. That is first and foremost. One of the most important things is our parks are for everyone, and maybe not everyone has the as readily available access to be able to get a permit online. So the first thing you do is you go to the Redwood National and State Parks website. And I'm going to put that link right here in the chat for all of you to see. And we're going to just walk through this process together. So here we go. We are on the Redwood National and State Parks website, and we're on the home page, and scroll just a tiny little bit down. And there it is, right there, right on the right-hand side. And if you click here, it actually redirects you, because we are hosting our free permits on our partner organization's website, which is Redwood Parks Conservancy. And they're a nonprofit support entity here for Redwood National and State Parks. So once you click onto this page, you will see a whole bunch of great information. I highly encourage you to read all of it. You will also see information about what permits are and are not available, information about day use fees. And that's one thing I wanted to just quickly touch on right now. So let's just to remind everyone, these permits are not going to be in place all year long. And the reason for that is we don't need them in place all year long. Our peak visitation of you, as you've already heard from Emily and Stephen and Kevin, and is that our peak summer visitation is really the time when we are having these major issues. And that's generally May through September. So these permits are only in place May 1st through September 30th. And when you arrive on site to Fern Canyon, there is an entry, or excuse me, to Gold Bluffs Beach day use area. There's an entrance station, and there always has been. And at that entrance station, you pay a day use fee, as you always have been. That day use fee has actually increased. So the day use fee is increased from what it was, which was $8. And starting May 1st, it will be $12. And for anyone out there that's wondering, well, why is the day use fee increasing? Because ready for this? We actually have not increased our day use fee for this area since the mid 1990s. So that's almost 30 years that our day use fee has been $8. And across California state parks, we have 279 state parks, and across California state parks, this is the case where day use fees have not increased at all in almost 30 years. So in order for us to better support our parks, we are slightly increasing our day use fees to get close to what the current value of that would be. So when you roll through the entrance station, you're paying your $12 via cash or check. No credit cards are accepted because there is no Wi-Fi or internet out there for us to be able to run credit cards. If you do have any sort of annual pass from the National Park Service or from California State Parks, you are welcome to use that. And campers that are camping at Gold Bluffs Beach campground, they do not need a permit. So that is covered here on their website. There is some information about accessibility. There's information about the trail. Again, it talks about cell reception. There are pockets of cell reception down in this area, but they're definitely not something to rely on. And then we start getting into information about Davison Road. We really just want to make sure visitors understand that their commitment to go to Fern Canyon, they're committing to an adventure that includes a 7.5-mile windy, dirt road. And we also specify that trailers and large RVs are prohibited, meaning not allowed at all on this road for safety purposes. I also do want to point out that parking is not available along Davison Road. So the 7.5-mile stretch of windy dirt road, you're not allowed to park on that road because sometimes parking on that road will basically make it impossible for emergency vehicle traffic to pass by. So parking is not allowed on the road itself. It also speaks to the stream crossings. But for those of you, you have time to read this later without me walking you through it. What I wanted to really point out to you is how can you visit Fern Canyon? Most people that visit Fern Canyon are really never spending more than probably 2 hours inside the canyon at any given time. It's a very short, about 1-mile loop trail for those that are choosing to just go into the canyon. So you can go into the canyon, walk through the creek and return the same way you came, or you can take a loop, but it's no more than about 1 mile. So we have several options for people that want to visit this area. We have these 4-hour half-day hiking permits. And so I'm going to go ahead and just click on a 4-hour half-day hiking permit because it is the most common. This is the one that we'll walk through together. But if you are wanting to just spend the whole day down there and you're wanting to take several of the other trails that branch off from Fern Canyon, including the very popular James Irvine Trail, you can spend an entire day down there. You can spend time at the beach, you could picnic, and you also, so a 10-hour permit is available. And then lastly, you don't want to go to Fern Canyon at all. You want to go to Gold Bluffs Beach day use area, which is actually another popular area right along the same road going towards Fern Canyon. And you can get just a permit specifically for Gold Bluffs Beach day use. And this can be very popular for people that want to walk their dogs on the beach on a leash, or people that want to picnic or go fishing. So those are the 3 different permits that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to go to Fern Canyon. I know I'm not going to be there for the full 10 hours. I am happy to just go for a few hours. And I would love to go in the morning because I'm a morning person and I have plans in the afternoon. So I'm going to choose the block of, we have these 2 blocks, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that's your first 4-hour block. And your second 4-hour block is an afternoon block, or which is basically 1 p.m. To 5 p.m. So in this case, I am going to go ahead and choose 8 a.m. Maybe I want to go Wednesday, May 4th, or wait, I want to see, where's there more times? So this button here allows you to just click through and see where there are more times available. So in this case, yeah, I'd love to go on a Saturday. And I'm going to pick Saturday and I'm just going to say continue. And then it asks me to fill out some information. My name, my email address. You don't have to put in a phone number. The reason you do have to specify your email is that's how you're going to get your confirmation for your permit. And then it does ask you to read through all of that great information that you had just read through on the website and specifically acknowledge that you've read it. You know, acknowledge that you understand that pets are not permitted within Fern Canyon. We do have various rules regarding this, specifically because a lot of our threatened or maybe even endangered species, if they smell your beautiful dog on our trails, even though your beautiful dog is so cute, but if they smell your dog on our trails, they will no longer want to be in that area of the park. And so that's why, for example, we don't allow dogs on trails, whether they are on a leash or not. Dogs are not allowed on our trails, and on the beach, dogs are allowed, but on a leash only. So I have to click through and identify that I understand that it's only one permit per vehicle is required, meaning it's me in my car with my friends. If I have additional friends that are coming and they want to drive their car, they need to get their own permit. It is making me click through that I understand the drive, that Fern Canyon is 7 miles from US 101. It makes me click through that I understand the limitations of Davison Road, that I'm not going to bring my RV over 24 feet, or I'm definitely not bringing my trailer. Makes me click that I understand there's stream crossings that I have to drive through. And it makes me click that I understand that I need to park in designated parking spaces only, or this will result in a citation, and that there is no roadside parking. And lastly, to add just an extra bit of excitement to your adventure, when you're in Fern Canyon, you may run into Roosevelt elk. And it's really important that visitors are keeping themselves safe from these wild animals, because this is their home. And so reminding everyone that we keep at least 75 feet or 25 yards away from an elk, and we don't approach it. Then it's going to ask me a few questions. How do I expect to pay? This is just a way to remind us, right, that it's either cash, one of these passes, or other. And in this case, the other perhaps could be a check. But this is hopefully our way of continuing to remind visitors. We know it's 2022. We get it. We're in the 21st century, but unfortunately, a lot of our parks aren't. They're still in the time before internet, because we don't have the ability to get internet out there. So it's just our way of reminding everyone, we don't have internet. It's not because we don't know what year it is. It's because we are getting to go to a beautiful place. And sometimes that means that we have to tune out of our technology. Then it's asking me what my full name is of the primary permit holder. That's me. And it's because I'm going to have to show my driver's license or some other photo ID when I get there. And the reason you're like, why would we have to do this? Because we want to make sure that whoever is getting to go to Fern Canyon, we want to make this equitable. We do not want to see these permits getting sold online, because that's not what this is for. So whoever is getting their permit here will have to be present in the vehicle when they show up at Fern Canyon. And that's really to help make sure that all of you out there will have access to permits, and there won't just be one person getting all the permits and then giving them to their friends or selling them. That will not be able to happen because of this. So then it's asking me, well, how am I going to prove I'm Aaron Gates? Oh, I'll do it with my driver's license. But let's say you want to do it with a student ID or some other official photo identification. Just pick other. It's totally fine. How many people? I don't know, maybe 3. Is this my first time visiting? Nope. Have I visited Fern Canyon? Definitely. Then it asks for some vehicle identification information. If people are driving a rental car, no big deal. Let's type in rental car. Again, rental car. And then my zip code of where I'm coming from. And I just go complete appointment. Oh, it needs to know I'm paying with cash. And then I complete my appointment. And my internet might be a little slow. It could be because we're in Zoomlandia right here, where I'm trying to run too much going on my screen at one time. But no, there's my permit. So it confirmed it. I actually can even add it directly to my Outlook calendar, to my Google calendar. If I need to reschedule this, I just have to click on that button. This automatically gets emailed to me as well. And if I need to cancel it, I click on that button. And that's how easy it is to book a permit with us. You can see it took me less than maybe 3 to 4 minutes. And one thing I do want to just address real briefly, and then I'm going to send it on. is we would be super grateful if you would please, if you know you can't visit, we would be really grateful if you'd cancel your permit, because our kiosk staff have a limited number of permits. We're allowing 35 of those half-day morning permits to come in. We have 20 full-day permits, and then we have 35 half-day afternoon permits specifically for the Fern Canyon parking lot. So if you've booked a permit and you can't come, we're sorry. We wish you would come again and reschedule. But if you can't come, please just cancel your permit so you can make that available for others. And then last but not least, well, I don't plan. I'm not a planner. What if I don't know I'm going to Fern Canyon 3 weeks from now? That's okay. If you know you're going the day before, if it's Friday and you're like, I really want to go to Fern Canyon tomorrow, I'm going to check to see if there's permits. You can book your permit up till basically midnight the day before you want to show up. And it's that easy. So I hope that's been helpful as just giving you a quick walkthrough of how you get your permit, why we've chosen this permit system, how we're doing whatever we can to make sure that it's accessible and equitable. And without further ado, I'm going to actually turn it over specifically to talk about what if you don't get a permit. With Emily explaining the high visitation we have there, there is a chance that there are going to be days this summer, especially holidays, where permits aren't going to be available. People will be disappointed, and we don't like disappointing people, but we also want to make sure we're keeping people safe. So there are other ways to get to Fern Canyon besides driving. Steve and Troy, take it away.
All right, thank you, Aaron. So yeah, like Aaron was saying, we hope that doesn't happen. But Davison Road is not the only way to get to Fern Canyon. There are some other ways. I know a lot of people that are here tonight said earlier that they're familiar with this area. So you may be familiar with some other ways to get there. I'm going to share a couple. I'm not sure all of them. There's lots of different trails that connect with the trails I'm going to talk about that get there, and you can get very creative to hike out there. But I'm going to talk about the two main ones. So yeah, there's a few ways, but these two ways, I will say they do require a more substantial commitment of your time and require some longer distance hiking. So and biking. So that's where we'll start. Aaron, if you could bring up one map I have on there for Fern Canyon and scroll down a little bit if possible. Perfect, thank you. So the first one is going to be getting out there via the James Irvine Trail. And if you're able, Aaron, you could zoom out just one smidge. But the way this will work is it's a trail that starts from the Prairie Creek Visitor Center, just behind the Visitor Center, goes out about 9.5 to 10 miles out the James Irvine Trail. And so with there and back, you can make it a loop though too, which you can see on here. You can make a loop all the way back, which ends up being 12 miles. You hike down Davison and back up Miners, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But those are kind of the two options right behind the Visitor Center. And if you haven't been on the James Irvine Trail, it is gorgeous. It's a beautiful hike through some amazing old growth here. In fact, when I got here 8 years ago, it's the first hike that I did. I wanted to see Fern Canyon, of course, right? I got here, want to see Fern Canyon, but I wanted to didn't want to drive right up to it. So I wanted to do this hike, and I did it. And it was excellent. And it really stands out in my memory. So, like I said, you start behind the Prairie Creek Visitor Center. You get on the nature trail if you're familiar with it, and it connects with the James Irvine. Just a short walk there, and that will take you all the way out to the intersection with Friendship Ridge. And you follow that for about a half mile or so, and it drops you right into the canyon. So it's a great way to get there. It is a distance though, right? So and when you get there, you can retrace your steps back, like I mentioned, or you can get on Davison Road, walk south for a little ways to its intersection with Miners Ridge, and come back up that way because it connects back with James Irvine, as you can tell, and pops you right back out behind the Visitor Center. So they're both pretty moderately, I'd say moderately difficult hikes, not super strenuous, but they are lengthy. So if you decide that this is the way you want to access Fern Canyon, try to prepare accordingly. It's a way. So if you do that, I would say it's very smart to bring a map with you. Could be this map, something similar, anything, just a map showing the trails. It's very important. Bring plenty of extra water, extra food if you're going to go out this way. I would recommend, just because I've come from the emergency services world, to bring some sort of light source just in case you go over and you end up out there in the dark. Obviously bring a camera because it's beautiful. And bring appropriate clothing for the weather, right? And sounds like it might be an obvious thing to say, but we've seen that not happen many times, so it's worth mentioning. So, of course, the appropriate footwear too for a long distance hike. It's very important. And if you go to Fern Canyon, if you've been there before, you know you're going to get your feet wet, so be prepared. And if you're going alone, anytime you're going to hike alone, you know, I would suggest notifying someone, a family member or a friend, when you're going out there and you're planning time of return. That way, someone knows you're out there, because it is a long hike. So that's one way. A second way, which Aaron, if you could bring up the map that says Strelo.
One, please. Technical difficulties.
No problem. And so, yeah, while that's coming up, I'll explain a little bit. This starts in kind of the same area. I have a more broad map that's with the highlight section here, but this is a bike path. It's an option for you. It starts in the same place, Prairie Creek Visitor Center. And so the way that this one would work, you could go south along the Davison Trail, which is near the campground there. And that'll take you to an intersection with a trail called the Strelo Creek. You can bike that trail just under 2 miles down to its intersection with Davison Road. So obviously Davison Road we've been talking about, right? That takes you all the way to Fern Canyon. So if you hop on Davison Road, go all the way out to Fern Canyon, from that intersection, about 5 miles or so, altogether pretty close to 7. So it is a lengthy bike ride, right? It's not short, but it is beautiful as well. If you choose to go that route, same thing, just be prepared for a lengthy bike ride and prepare. And you're going to be sharing Davison Road with traffic, right? Just the way it is if you do that. So, you know, these are the kind of the main alternate routes, the 2 ones that I wanted to mention. But yeah, you'll need decent time commitment, like I said, and just be prepared. You'll have to plan ahead for those. But they're beautiful routes to Fern Canyon, and be safe if you decide to go out one of those routes. So yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Stephen. So you have options. Now, we covered a whole lot of information in a very short amount of time, and we're coming close towards our end. So I'm gonna actually turn it back into gallery view so you can see some of us that are here and speaking. What we're gonna do is we have an amazing helper behind the scenes, Allie, who's gonna actually start typing in some of the answers to some of your questions directly into Q&A, and she'll be typing them in so that everybody can see the answer. And then we'll also just start to address some of the other questions you have. And just a reminder that a few moments before we close down the broadcast today, I'm going to share a survey link. And that really is your opportunity to give us feedback, because it doesn't have to be our idea. It has to just be the best idea. And the best idea to help protect our resources, to help protect visitor experiences, and to make sure that you are all staying safe out there. And this is the best idea we've come up with so far. And that's why this is a pilot program, is because we are going to give this a shot and see what happens this summer. But who knows, maybe somebody out there has another really good idea as well. And so we would really love and would greatly appreciate your feedback, any comments or concerns that you might have. And we will be sharing a link shortly for that. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up the Q&A and start to get an idea of some of the questions. So and please feel free, I will read these questions out loud. And if anyone in our panel wants to jump in, go for it. I also might have a few answers too. So we're going to go ahead and take one. For folks that don't have access to internet to obtain a permit, would you consider having X number of permits a day available at the visitor center, even if just one? That's a very good question. And I did already allude to this, which is why we are going to make sure that we have an email address available that is out there, and a phone number available. So visitors that don't have access to the internet and that would be prohibited from taking part in this permit experience, they have a way that they can reach out to us directly. So we're not going to have a certain number of permits available at the visitor center, for example, and I'll tell you all why, is because if we did, then we would be creating another access issue, because we would have a whole bunch of people standing in line in front of our visitor centers before our visitor centers open in the morning. And then those lucky few that had the ability to get up super early and stand in line for, you know, whether it be 20 minutes or 2 hours, we don't want to create a situation where we are catering towards that. But yes, we are going to ensure that people that are not able to get online and access a permit, and have circumstances that prevent them from taking part of this, that they have means. So if you know anybody that fits that category, you are more than welcome to actually have them reach directly out to me. My email address is the one that was the contact for this Zoom webinar. And so my email address for now can be used for that. We really want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can do to ensure that this permit process is equitable. So thank you for that question. All right, I'm going to let Emily or Kevin take this one. What if we are camping at Prairie Creek? So there are 2 campgrounds inside of Prairie Creek. For those of you watching, there's Prairie Creek, or Elk Prairie Campground is what it's known. And there's Gold Bluffs. And we already spoke about Gold Bluffs, that Gold Bluffs campers, they're already there. They will not need a permit to go to Fern Canyon, but that's a great question, Nathaniel.
I can take that. So if I heard you right, the question is, do I need a permit if I'm camping at Elk Prairie? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, you do. The only campground that would be exempt from that is if you're actually camping out at Gold Bluff Beach Campground. For obvious reasons, you're already in the park. But yeah, every other campground, you know, in this district, and we have a number of them, it doesn't fall into that. You'll need to get online, get your permit, and you know, access the park the way anybody else would.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, next question, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll read it out loud, but just take it. We've been asked, so if you're at Prairie Creek, actually Troy, Steve, go ahead and take this. So you're at Prairie Creek and you want to hike or bike to Fern Canyon, Gold Bluff, do you need a permit, or is it just for the cars? If you're using your feet or your wheels and not the vehicle kind, do you need a permit?
You do not. No, you're good. If you're hiking or biking, you do not. It's these are for vehicles. So, yep.
Great. Are you able, that's a great question, Monica, asking if people can call ahead and inquire about Davison Road conditions, and specifically how high the water level is in the streams. You can. We don't have any like live cams on the stream crossings. That would be helpful, but remember, we're not in the 21st century out there. We don't have internet. But what you can do is we have a public information line through Redwood National and State Parks. That number you can find all over our website. And we have a very helpful person that helps answer these questions and has enough of a visual just by talking to other staff, and you can find out road conditions that way. But in general, assume that in our winter or rainy season, those creeks are going to be relatively high. And it would be smart to not take anything that's less than an all-wheel drive. But that's a general statement. Laura has asked about discounts for parking. And yes, Laura, so both through the National Park Service and California State Park, there are several different passes that are available for senior discounts or disability parking. And the best way to find out information about those passes is going to be through either the Redwood National and State Parks website, just a general National Park Service passes search, or a California State Parks passes search. What historical, so this was a quick question. And it looks like we may not get to all of your questions, so we're going to do our best. Please feel free to put your questions in the survey I'm about to post, because I don't want any of you to feel like we're not getting to your questions on purpose. We've gotten a lot, which is great. So I'm going to go take this last one here. So John is asking about the permit process regarding how to pay. Does it make clear that credit cards are not used? We didn't see what happens when one hits the other button. Yes, so John, it had specified in the details, credit cards are not able to be used. And then it reiterated that next to that checkbox, and then it made me pick other, and the other specifically really would be check. So this is an option right there. John, you might have just helped us add an extra little fix to our, instead of putting other, maybe we will just put check, because really the only way to get in is cash, check, or a pass. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and post. I really try to start and end meetings on time to the best of my ability. I'm going to post our survey link in the chat right now. For any of you that did not get your questions answered, again, we apologize, but your questions were good and they're very valuable to us. So if you post your question in this feedback survey, I promise that we will get back to you in that way. You'll just want to make sure that you list your email address for us to follow up with you on. But we really want to thank you very much for taking time and joining us today. And, you know, these are your parks, and we are doing our best to make sure they're staying protected and to make sure that you and your experience are staying protected while you're out there. So I really want to thank everyone that joined us today. Our panelists, thank you for coming, and for all of you out there, thank you for joining. And we look forward to seeing you in the Redwoods this summer, or maybe this fall. Okay. Bye.